Boom, baby, we're live. Welcome to Tokyo Crypto Show, episode number 126, where we're going to be talking to you live about what is going on today with the Federal Reserve. So you're not going to want to miss out on this episode. We're just going to basically talk about the Federal Reserve and their plan of action and what Charlie and I have predicted since earlier this summer. Charlie, good morning, good evening, good night.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm tired. I'm a hardworking man. I'm a tired man.
Yeah, it's the end of the day here, so yeah, it is what it is.
Going to Okinawa tomorrow. On a scale of 1 to 10, how jealous are you?
0.
Oh, oh man, that's gonna be good. I'm gonna be doing absolutely nothing, and yeah, enjoying life, man. So we got the feds coming in, yeah.
Yeah, so it's today, I believe, at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good old Jerome Powell will be on stage, giving his talk as he usually does. Now, it's funny. It's kind of like, we're just expecting it now. So everybody's kind of just like turning on the TV, taking their popcorn, just sitting there and being like, all right, how bad are the markets going to bleed this time? So people are kind of getting used to it, and yeah, I mean, the crux of the story is, right, they're trying to turn back inflation because we're at 40-year highs. And yeah, best of luck to them on that. But, they can't keep this tightening going forever. Eventually, they will start the money printer again.
Yeah, I've been saying it for the longest. I think I've been saying this, since we've been started getting these rate hikes. I think they're going to hike every month until the end of the year.
Yeah, and if they continue to, I think at some point they'll realize, okay, interest rate, or sorry, the inflation is basically going down, and as inflation starts, kind of going down a bit or whatever, they're going to want to turn those the money printer back on. So it's just a matter of time, whether it's beginning of 2023 or the end of 2022. Doesn't matter too much, but eventually it's kind of like the biggest thing is they have to increase the interest rates at a level that would shock people. And I think if it's like a full basis point, right, that would like really surprise people, and that would bring a lot of blood into the markets. So if they do that today, then yeah, that will basically be what we are expecting going into October. Just more blood in the markets. Because I think last time they raised it by 75 basis points, and it didn't really do a whole lot, right? It didn't have as much of an effect to the downside as before, because we had the last, just using Bitcoin as an example, because we see this with the S&P as well, that back in the middle of June, around June 18th is June 13th to 18th, those 2 weeks there, that was when we had kind of like the local lows on Bitcoin. And the last time we had the rate hike was in July, just to get it precise, it was July 26th and 27th. Didn't really slow Bitcoin down. It continued to go up through August, right? And then on the day, I think at the end of August, where Jerome Powell said, oh, there's going to be more pain coming, we got a bit of a drop on Bitcoin, and then it continued up again for a bit. So yeah, I think 75 basis points doesn't really freak out the market that much anymore.
No.
So if they did a whole basis point, like 100, then yeah, that would essentially start freaking out the market and dumping harder. So I guess
that, wouldn't that put us? So let me ask you this: even if they did put us at a full basis point, right? Wouldn't that just like bring us up to like 3.5? Is that devastating?
No, but just it's more of a psychological thing in the market for the most
2008
part.
levels, right? Because the last time it was like that high was in 2008, or like right around 2008-ish.
Yeah, and a lot of people are calling, that this one particularly could lead to event worse than 2008 in terms
Of course they are, because these fucking people have nothing better to do in their miserable lives.
Yeah, Jim Cramer out there, right? He's saying short NVIDIA. And then about a week later, he's saying, we love NVIDIA.
Jim Cramer is bald for a reason. It's bad karma. I
Yeah.
got a history here. So this is what we're looking at so far this year. Take a look here. Have you seen this chart, Charlie?
Where are we at?
Right here. This is the United States Fed fund rate.
Gotcha.
So you said here, so it looks like on the 16th, or excuse me, the 15th of June, looks like the actual percentage point they raised it by was 1.75 percent. And then in the 27th of July, looks like that brought us up to 2.5%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think even in 5 year, the last time we were at this level was like 2019 when Big Daddy Trump was in office. And then if we go back 10 years, fucking basically nothing. So interesting. When he came into office, they started hiking the rates.
Yeah. And it didn't have the negative effect on the market that it's been having this year.
Charlie, you know what that means. Uh-oh. What's George Soros up to?
Yeah, it was at the beginning of this year. So many people were like, interest rate hikes, whatever. Last time we did that, we were in the middle, of a bull trend.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have so much of an effect,
If we go back even more, we go back 25 years, because this is 10 years, 25. It seems like, I don't know, things were not that bad in 2000. We were kids, but I don't remember it being that bad.
No, but you did have the kind of shock of, the 1998 tech crash, right? And Amazon and Google and those types of stocks were hurting at that time in the early 2000s.
But this is nothing compared to here.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest difference is more so less the interest rates and more the inflation.
Right.
And so the inflation is really screwing everybody.
You accepted the truth.
Christ, that's loud.
Sorry, I gotta fix that.
But yeah, the bigger thing is inflation being its highest that it's been in 40 years, right? And so that's really hurting people in the pocketbook.
Joe Biden said on 60 Minutes, inflation's not a big deal, Charlie. I think you're just
I got the clip if you want it.
I think you're just a Republican.
Yeah.
You want to play the clip? Let's have a little fun before we get into the boring talk of Fed rates, because while you prep that, I think the pain is in. Can things really get worse? Like, we've already went through awfully high gas prices. Gas prices are finally starting to come back down, right? The whole Europe war in Ukraine, nobody cares about Ukrainian. Nobody cares about war in Ukraine, even though we're still sending billions and billions, even to this day, sending in billions of dollars to Ukraine. We have like 1 million new variants killing everybody, apparently. Like, they really just need to nuke a small city to get people like to turn some heads at this point, because I think people are kind of jaded. Like, I'm kind of going on with my life. Are you like, I know you're not worried about this on a day-to-day.
No, man, I'm loving it because we all get to buy cheaper prices on everything, right? So, the more the media strokes the fear, the better opportunity we have to buy lows, right? Like, Bitcoin has essentially been pushed down so low because of all this, and same with a lot of other assets as well. It's just making better buys for the long term. Yeah.
Yes, MLD got his hair back. Yeah, I'm in a bull market for hair growth.
Yeah, and like what I forget what I was gonna say before, but I did pull up the video. But yeah, it's just with people experiencing inflation. Oh, that's what I was gonna say before. Basically, what you're saying is right. Like, the worst seems to be over, right?
Would you agree?
In terms of what they can do to the market, the only, like you said, the only thing that they can do would be like a black swan event or a known unknown, which are events in the world that would be so shocking that it would just make everybody, lose their shit. And so stuff like that would be literally like kind of like you alluded to jokingly would be like a World War III type event where we basically have like, China and Russia, continuing to expand in the terms of militarily and be aggressive, and nukes, if they are involved with that in sometime in 2023, that could, push the markets down a lot. But generally speaking, I mean, I'm thinking the lows are going to be within October, and at worst, within the first week or so of November. And then we get a run up into the end of the year, and then we just see what 2023 brings, right? At this point in the markets, right, when you're extremely undervalued, you just buy something cheap, which we know where Bitcoin is right now, and that it is significantly cheap compared to where it's been historically. So you just dollar cost average in, you buy those assets with money that you're willing to lose. Obviously, you work harder, so that way you get more cash to put into the market. And yeah, cash is king in the short term. So you just keep throwing cash into the market. And then, you just keep stacking the stuff that is going to be valuable in the next 5 years. So you kind of treat 2023 and the end of this year as just when everything is cheap, load up on your long-term savings account, and then don't spend that stuff, right, for several years. You're waiting 3 to 5 years on that to really come back and appreciate in price significantly. So that's really the strategy. And you just don't really worry about all the stuff in between. And it's kind of like what I say with a lot of time when I'm looking at the chart, right? It's like, okay, here's a level you can buy below, and you just buy as much as you want for Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? And then when we're above this level, you just hold off, right? And so as you're holding off, you just, slow down the buying or slow down the DCAs or stop them altogether. And so if we have a lot of turmoil where we kind of go up, prices come back down because of a world event, we go up again, prices come down because of another world event sometime in 2023, then every time we make those dips, it's basically a time to get everything cheap. And then every time we go up, you just enjoy the ride, right? And you take profits, obviously, if it's a significant run up, and then you wait for it to go back again. So it's kind of similar to what we were doing in 2018, 2019, when Bitcoin was just oscillating between its lows of 3,100 to, its highs in 2019 was about 14,000. So when it was in that area, you're just basically doing swing trading, right? You're buying and selling. And if you're not into swing trading, then just every time everybody sells, right, you just load up on more and more and more. And so it's accumulation over that period of time. So it's generally more boring part of the market, and people tend to be less interested in that. So the normies go away from the market, and everybody else, stacks up for their long term. You all right?
Sorry, my mic is like coming off the desk.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, let me just handle this before this.
No,
hits
I finished my point. I was just waiting for you now.
All right, that should hold. Sorry about that.
I was gonna pull up comments, but because I'm not logged into the back end of the StreamYard this week,
shucks, my bad.
I was gonna do that, but it's all good.
Okay, yeah, just moving this. I don't know. It's expensive. I don't want to break it. Anyways, sorry about the delay there, guys. But yeah, looking at the markets here, we I don't know. I could be wrong. I think this is just. I think there's a lot of fun. There's somebody. He's a friend.
I think I agree, but it doesn't mean October is not going to be death to the markets. I think it will be death to the markets.
Define
but it's going to Bitcoin going down some under 17.5K, which we had the lows of in June. So I mean, the people who are well trained in the crypto mindset from the Moon Gang, right? Mm-hmm. Those guys, they love these prices, right? It's like prices should stay at these as long as possible, so that we work hard, continue to DCA in, and then no worries, right? But most people, because they're buy high, sell low type people, right? They're always fearful during these periods of time. And I was joking on my channel yesterday, right? When the fear greed index gets down there to that 10 area for a significant period of time, you just use your cold hard cash that you've been accumulating, and you soak up all the blood and all the salty tears of the normies who are complaining about this instead of looking at it as a massive opportunity.
Looks like the fear is at the 23 right now for the fear index.
Yeah. So
Not
we
bad.
need
My bad. I was waiting for you to
market.
I forgot you weren't logged in on StreamYard. I was waiting for you to pull up the thing. So let me know when you're ready. I'll hit it on the screen.
All right, let me because I got it on there. I just need to go to that portion of the screen. There you go.
Looks like DCC's in the house. What up, man?
Yes, he is.
What's the over under 75 points versus 100? Miguel, if you want to come on, just text us in the group chat and then we'll send you a link. Here we go. Go ahead, Charlie.
All right. You got this one?
Yep.
All right. Let's listen to how Biden sees this.
Annual inflation rate came in at 8.3%. The stock market nosedived. People are shocked by their grocery bills. What can you do better and faster?
Well, first of all, let's put this in perspective. Inflation rate month to month was just an inch, hardly at all.
You're not arguing that 8.3 is good news.
No, I'm not saying it's good news, but it was 8.2 or 8.2 before. I mean, it's not. Maybe I can make it sound like all of a sudden, my God, it went to 8.2%. It's
the highest inflation rate, Mr. President, in 40 years.
I got that, but guess what we are? We're in a position where for the last several months, it hasn't spiked. It is just barely, it's been basically even.
Annual inflation.
So essentially, he's just, hoping that your short-term attention span doesn't allow you to pay attention to, the highest inflation rate that we've seen in 40 years, right? And the last couple of months it's been just fine. I'm just gonna go like that. How do I stop this one? There we go. He's like, oh, don't worry, the last couple of months there's been no change to it. But yeah, compared to the last 40 years, it's significantly different, right?
Do you have a chart of that?
I could find one. It'd take me a bit of time.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Well,
but anyways, it's just one of these things where it's just he's so out of touch, essentially, right? And for him, I mean, and for a lot of the people in the government, right? They love inflation because it basically it's a stealth tax, right? It's a stealth wealth, taking of your money, right? And the only reason why people are paying attention to it right now compared to in the past is because it's so drastically different. 10 years ago or 5 years ago, people weren't really talking about it because it wasn't significant enough to actually affect their daily lives. And now it is, right? And so, yeah, once people start noticing it on a daily basis and being like, hey, wait a minute, people at McDonald's are getting paid what, like $20 an hour now or something? Like 10, 15 years ago, they're getting paid like $8 an hour. Like, what's happening here, right? Then people start asking questions. And because the value is no different.
So let's do this, okay? We got a super chat. Let me handle this. Tap 2, $10 super chat. I wonder how many cuts they made in between his responses to make him sound to some degree coherent. Well, he is the most popular president ever voted into the office, according to the records. So here we go. I don't know. I think maybe the markets may bleed out, but
it's a very short-term period thing. It's not over a sustained period of time, in my opinion. So I think that gives us time in October, right? Everybody who
is it October again?
pretty much. Yeah. So everybody who's in our programs from the Q3 course or the Citadel and so forth, it gives them time to prepare and study and review the stuff that they've been looking at the last year or last few months, and just get your strategy ready for buying the dip in October. And I think
take my money
because we've explained the situation quite clearly in terms of kind of where things can go and how historically cheap we are on Bitcoin. Then you just essentially keep buying the dip. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's not that hard if you know what you're doing.
Colonel Sanders says Grandpa wants all of our games. I agree.
They are buying up real estate, right? BlackRock has been going around the world buying up a ton of real estate cheap. They've been trying to force it out of people's hands. And this is one way to force it out of people's hands, because if people are over leveraged on housing, which they are not only in the United States, but in China as well, right? Then once you start having some sort of crisis like this, right, it pushes people out of there. And then what does it do? Allows the people who do have money to come in and scoop up all the assets. So the key is, right, that you've worked hard enough to gain a level of cash position to be able to buy and take advantage of the lows. But they just know so many people, right? I think what's the average American can't come up with $400 in like an emergency, right, is one of the statistics out there. A lot of people don't have over $1,000 in their savings accounts. And so they're just expecting people to be so entrenched in their debt-based cycle that they can just continue scooping up the assets because they're the ones who control the money. And which is why we have Bitcoin, because it's more of an equitable way to do money and to take that power away from the government, which obviously they don't want.
Well, yeah, what can I say, man? In regards to what's happening right now, I just think that, I don't know, I'm not afraid.
Well, you shouldn't be, because you've already put yourself in a position not to need to care about it, right? And one of the beauties here about living in Japan is it's worse here in terms of inflation for the Japanese yen. So I think the Japanese yen versus US dollar is the weakest it's been since 1998, so like 24 years. So for us getting paid in US dollars, everything's cheaper here.
Take my money
compared to what it was just a few years ago. I mean, it sucks for people getting paid in Japanese yen because 8 million, if you had a salary of like 8 million yen, right, that used to be $80,000. Now it's like $55,000.
But still, the like inside of Japan though, like prices really haven't gone up at all here. I haven't noticed a considerable price hike. Have you?
No, it's just a devaluation, right? So it just means the prices are remaining the same for most assets, but because for people getting paid in Japanese yen, right, they're still seeing the same prices on the board. But for guys like us who are getting paid in dollars, right, you don't, until you do the currency conversion, right, you don't notice, right? But once you do the currency conversion, it's like, oh shit, I am paying way less money for things nowadays. But it looked like the yen was staying the same, but it wasn't. And so that's the beauty of it, right?
I believe that crypto won't be running again until 2024. Well, you just stay tuned, Betty. You're wrong, but you'll be all right.
Well, so this is all about definitions, right? So what's your definition of a bull market, right? Is the definition we hit new all-time highs, or is your definition that we already hit the lows, right? That's going to change your perspective on when we get going good or running in the market. So if you're a person who's like, okay, I know the lows are likely in, and I'm just going to accumulate as we're oscillating between the lows and the previous all-time highs, right? That's a smart thing to do, in my opinion. That, to me, is a bull market, because you can make money and the prices are generally going up more than they're going down. And then we break into all-time highs, and then all the normies come in, right? And by that time, most of the accumulation is done. And so they're just buying an asset that's, they don't know where the top's going to be. So they're kind of walking blind, right? So that's why everybody who is in crypto before the end of 2020 did very well in 2021 and 2022, despite, all the fluctuation in price, because their average entry point and cost basis was way lower. Right. So if you always wait to get in until we're in a bull market, right, where if your definition of that is we're breaking into new all-time highs, then you're always the person who's basically buying high and selling low. So that's not the strategy you want to do.
Yeah. So she's agreeing with you. She's saying, yes, I agree with buying crypto little by little until next bull run. Exactly. Just make sure you're buying the right ones, Betty.
Yep. And higher lows is really all we're looking for.
Yeah, and I think no one's gonna really time the bottom. Let me get some chats here. Colonel Sanders 16th, he says with $10 super chat, what are your opinions on crypto IRAs like iTrust, Charlie?
So the iTrust, I don't know anything about it specifically, but if you do have a crypto IRA, it's not a bad thing at all. I think the limit for most of those is like $10,000, and then you have to wait till you're like 60 or 65 or something to take the money out. Right. But the thing that's good about it is you can trade in there tax free. Right. And you can trade using Kraken. You can trade using whatever exchange that you put under there. So, yeah, it's pretty good. if you're only looking to put in, about 10K or less, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, you're just not going to be able to take it out of there and liquidate it without a penalty.
Right. Then we got another one here. Dejalo 007, 5 pounds. This channel provides invaluable data. It's like the Amazon of crypto. What's your forecast for crypto going into the fourth quarter? Well, ultimately, remember this: nobody knows what the market's going to do. Let's add that as an infinite caveat, okay? Because if we knew, we wouldn't be here. I assure you. All right.
Yeah, we got to get Marty McFly and Doc on that one.
I would just not be here. I'd be colonizing the planet. I really think the bottom's in. Like, we've had a million crises. We have the energy crisis. I think, look, people are not going to sit in their house and freeze to death in these countries that are, that were dependent on Russian gas, and they wanted to get all, how's the word I can use? Righteous with this whole pseudo Ukraine situation. And now they're suffering because they want to make like white liberals in America happy. It's not going to last long. Like, these people are like, some of these people in Germany are paying like $1,000 a month in their electricity and gas bills, and that's not sustainable. It's only a matter of time. Like, you have to realize that the governments really aren't in control, because once the peasants start raging, don't you realize when everybody around the world started raging and raging and raging about the COVID lockdowns, all of a sudden Putin decided to invade Ukraine? Because once the governments lose face on a public stage, and you're like, damn, the people defeated the governments, they do not want that happening. And they are really, 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 really close to that happening. The trucker protests in Canada, they don't want Americans protesting against the government because they got guns. All these protests against the governments. And then all of a sudden, Putin came along and cured the world of COVID.
Yeah, well, and it's something in general that, there's always a crisis to take advantage of, right? I mean, the whole point of the Corona crash per se was, if you're looking at it from a certain angle, right, was to take the eyes off of all the money printing, because people, if they were using the logical brains at that time, you're like, you're printing a lot of money here. I think, that'll push prices up in the short term. Great. But isn't that going to cause like ridiculous inflation down the road? Right. There were some people saying that and talking about that, but not the majority of the public. The majority of the public said, you're worried about the economy. You're a terrible person. So many people are dying out here. Right. And so that just quashed that discussion right away. And so, it's jingle the keys and look over here, not at what I'm really doing, but if you really want to know what's going on, just follow the money.
I'm looking at this comment here. It's pretty funny. I'm going to take it off now, but Tap2 $10 says, I wonder how many children for him to sniff. The World Economic Forum promised him to do their bidding. Oh boy. So anyways, we got that going. Charlie, you know what time it is? I'm gonna give you a hint.
Chart time.
Let's talk about Bitcoin, baby.
Yeah, we're all here for, right? Jesus Christ.
All right. Let's go. It's Bitcoin time.
You should keep yourself like that for the entire stream, bro. That'd be awesome.
Hey, I'm here. Let's do it.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right, you want to look at some charts of yourself?
Yeah, let's see what's going on. Where's my future going, Charlie?
All right, I'll get up my Miss Cleo hat and
call me now for your free crypto reading.
Oh man, that's great. Hold on a second here. I think that's the wrong screen. There we go. All right, you can show it whenever you got it.
Here we go. I'm gonna keep me on the screen for this one though.
Yeah, perfect. All right,
there we go. All right.
Oh, yeah, my other screen where I can see is a little delayed, so just let me know when it's on there and I'll go.
We're ready to roll. Actually, okay. I think we need to make it bigger. I got to get off here. Go ahead though.
All right. So this is why we do the charting, because then you don't really have to worry about all the BS narratives out there. You just see like, okay, if this, then that type scenarios, right? And so for the current 60-day cycle, like all we really need to do is like, okay, the last 60-day cycle from low to low, right? And what I was saying before was the interest rate hike period, which if we come over here, right, was July 26th and 27th, right? Where were we there? That was right around this period here. So we dipped into it, we held support, and then we pumped up, right? So that was actually, an interest rate hike in the middle of a small uptrend, right? And then we had our low to low here of a total of 81 days. So a little bit of a longer cycle. And then now, right, we started a new 60-day cycle. We have the high right here on day 6 of the 60-day cycle. And so that makes us have a high for the cycle and a low, which is the cycle low. And we have our pivot point here of 20,500, right, smack dab in the middle. So if we are below there, right below 20,500, it's a good time to be DCAing and buying Bitcoin. And what I was saying before is if we have a price that goes below the current cycle low, which is currently at 18,540, if we go below that price after we had this big dump, and this dump was after the CPI print here on the 13th of September, right? Once we show weakness below this price of the cycle low, which we have in the last 2 days, right, then that will tell you that the most likely scenario over 80% of the time is that until we get to a cycle low, which we know is usually between day 50, right, which is October 27th, to day 60, which is November 6th. We already showed that the weakness, right, that we went below the cycle low. So really all there is left for the price to do is to roll over and come down here. And once we break that low that we had in the summer, right, we're going to get some buying action. We're going to get a lot of volatility in this area, but eventually that will give way, right? Especially from, in my opinion, day 30 of the 60-day cycle, which is around October 7th. So from October 7th, I think we could actually see a speeding up or increase of the volatility to the downside. So really the period to pay attention is the second 30 days or second 20 days of this, or the last 20 days of the 60-day cycle. So from October 7th all the way to day 50, which is October 27th, right there, that's the area that you're basically just kind of sitting on your hands and watching it drop and maybe doing a small DCA along the way. And then, from around October 27th, so basically a little bit before Halloween to a little bit before the election, that's the time that you're really looking to scout the lows and buy cheap. And we know if Bitcoin comes down to $15,000, $16,000, that's a great area to buy. But the reason why the cycle is so important is because it just gives us a kind of like countdown, right? How many days are left for us to dump? Because we know we're going to dump more than likely than pump at the current moment. We turn on our Bollinger Bands and we have that 20-day moving average here at 20,113. So really Bitcoin would have to get above there and above that 20,500 pivot point to really try to oscillate back up here. And the price, the price it would need to beat in order to, create a positive cycle would be this price here, which would be 22,781. So it just seems, more difficult at this point, right? We've had a lot more downwards pressure here, especially, post Ethereum merge, post CPI print, post Fed interest rate hike, which I think, they're going to do today. That will just kind of roll over the price. And then we just wait, and we dollar cost average in. We just watch the market bleed. But while everybody else is kind of freaking out, we're cool, calm, and collected because, we're looking to buy those prices, right? So it's not really, it's pretty logical and it's pretty simple, right? You don't have to overcomplicate it. It's just wait. And I think Franklin in the chat had asked earlier, right? How would, what would need to happen for us to get to like an 11K Bitcoin within the 60-day cycle as opposed to like holding up at 15, 16K? I think it really is just a matter of, the whales in the market, and a lot of the whales in the market right now are institutions like Fidelity, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, a lot of the larger Fed hedge funds as well. It's just a matter of where are these guys going to buy, and if they're going to buy 15, 16K and we hold that price into the end of the 60-day cycle into late October, then great. We just basically wait, let that happen, and then the prices basically start coming back. And the other thing to look at, right, is we do want to look at the S&P because basically they are correlated. If the S&P is going down, it's going to drag Bitcoin down with it. And then really, really simple on the S&P right now is you can see just a few days ago, the high of this candle got rejected at about 3,900, right, which is where I have this yellow line. And you can just see if you kind of pull that back, and then maybe it's easy to see here. You can kind of see that that area was support here for a while, was resistance here for a while, became support once here, and then broke through it. Now it's becoming resistance. So that's kind of the pivot point here on the S&P 500. So as long as we're below this 3,900 region, right, price is more likely to go down, 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 and then that pulls Bitcoin down with it, and pulls all markets down with it. So until we see, a significant recovery here, which we've only had, if we go back to the weekly chart, maybe, right, we've had this downside significantly. So we haven't broken the downtrend at all, right? Still lower highs. You just bring that, that trend line across here, or you can bring it across the bodies of the candles, however you want to do it. Probably the bodies of the candles for traditional markets would make the most sense. So that gives you 2 points here, right, in terms of support and a trend line that the S&P would need to beat in order for, things to start recovering. So as long as we still see this rolling over and coming down, testing either this 200-week moving average or potentially this support box down here, which is the upper part of the box would be at 3,400 and the bottom part being at 3,200, right? Until we see this area, start getting support above this region of 39 or this trend line here, then we can just expect more pain on this. And so, you just kind of use these different factors to keep things really simple. And then once you do see, right, price come above a certain level, okay, now it's time to be, looking around, seeing what's going on, and seeing if that, can break this downtrend. But until the downtrend is broken, it's still going to continue to stay a downtrend. So it just kind of gives you different lines in the sand to kind of look for on what's happening. So if you want to look at the NASDAQ 100, right, that's another area you can look at, but it's basically the same pattern as the S&P. So it's not really all that different. We do have 2.5 days before this weekly candle closes. So if it did close above 3,900, right, then it might come up and test the bottom part of this trend line over the next few weeks, right? So we could see, right, after the Fed meeting, right, people are like, oh, it was 75 basis points. Well, it's not 100, so not so bad, right? Price comes up here for a bit. People kind of get faked out. That would cause Bitcoin to go up again. But let's say then it gets rejected by the trend line, starts coming down again, and then bloody October. I think it's going to be really hard for the S&P to break this trend line until mid-October would be the earliest time frame, just because of the cycles that I'd be waiting for to see, okay, is it possible, to start recovering from there? But until then, any bounce that we have to the upside is just that, like a bounce in the market, and it's not a reversal of trend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Looking at this situation with the upcoming, everything that's happening, the supposed FUD and everything, like, what would you, let's just, okay, obviously we don't want to be terrifying the audience. So this is just an exercise for you folks at home. What would you say? Give me a worst case scenario by the end of the year.
Okay, so if I were to go, let's go back over to Bitcoin, right? Because we're talking mostly about crypto. Like, it's good to look at the S&P for macro movements, but then we also just want to see, okay, what's the worst case scenario?
Right.
So the worst case scenario, let's say we get lows coming. Let's just make it straight 60-day cycle, right? So 60-day cycle ends around November 6th, and then we have another 60-day cycle coming on here going into early January, right? So the worst case scenario is that we just continue to get these left translated cycles. So this right translated cycle, which just means the high is past day 30 of the average of 60 days. You can see since we had that high here of 69K back in November, we just had a high before day 30 on day 23, another high before day 30 on 17, another high before day 30 on 21, 19. So this is really the outlier here, right? Why? Because the price got so cheap that the market was like, I got to deploy some capital on this one, right? And then the market started coming up again. And now we're just bouncing in this area, but you can tell, right? Unless Bitcoin roars back up to 23,000, like in the next few weeks, then it's more likely to just continue that trend, right? Because we didn't break that downtrend significantly by any means. And so it's just more and more likely if we do take actually this current trend line and just kind of pull it across here, right? You could see that area kind of, we're coming between a rock and a hard place here just in the next few days, right, for Bitcoin, where it would need to recover this area, which it's done a couple times, right? It recovered it here and then dumped below it, recovered it here and then dumped below it. So it could recover it there, try to come back up to 20,500 and then dump, right? I'm not saying it's going to dump immediately tomorrow.
That seems pretty inorganic in early to mid September there.
Yeah. So what was happening during this period of time in crypto, right? Basically a lot of talk about the Ethereum merge.
Right.
Yeah. And so people saw this price around the region that was so cheap back in June and July. They were like, let's fucking pump it, and so a lot of institutions, a lot of people get in here, right? I think Michael Saylor bought another 300 Bitcoins the last couple of days, so that might have created the wick on this candle here, or been a portion of it, right? Where it was looking like it wanted to roll over and die and then pumps back up. So it's really just kind of watching these different lines in the sand and waiting, okay, if it recovers one, okay, how long is it going to last? But we do know, right, that we're probably going to just oscillate between, I would say mid-case scenario, let's do it this way. So mid-case scenario, we just get a very crabby market. Maybe we recovered 20,500, but then we just lose it and we go into a cycle low, and we mainly just kind of get back to the lows a little bit above maybe 18,000, right? And then we go into the new 60-day cycle. Price comes up here, right? It can go up however high it really wants, right? Until, let's say, it peaks before day 30 and then starts dumping. And then, we come down to a low, maybe 17K. Maybe that's it, right? Maybe it's not that crazy. We just get a lot more crabbing action, right? And then the price starts to recover, the lows are in. That's possible, right? But that would be a very mild, just boring market where we just place a few swings, really.
Right.
But the real worst case scenario, right, is that we just dump hard right down towards like 16, 15K going to the end of the 60-day cycle. Price is recovered. Now this area here of where the price was being held up in the summer now becomes resistance, right? In the new 60-day cycle, price tries to go above there, but it can't. And then it goes down into the end of the year. And then we hit that 11K Bitcoin area, right? Which is essentially an area of support. We could see something like that for sure, right? And that is pretty much the patterns we've been seeing throughout here, where we just, it's just a sliding down of death, go sideways to up for a bit, another, area of death, sideways to up a bit, another area of death, sideways to up for a bit, for a little bit longer than before, right? And then maybe we get, a couple more push downs, maybe not so as ridiculous as these ones, but probably still, going down to negative prices. I don't think Bitcoin will go below 11K, but hey, anything is possible, right? But
and if that 11K were to happen, what are we looking at? When?
So it's either going to, just according to the cycles, right? It's either got to be end of October, early November, or the beginning of late December, basically New Year's, right? Late December, early January. So those are our two candidates. If we don't get it by then, I don't think we're going to.
So basically, we just got to hold our breath till the end of the year. And honestly, we as a people, and we have Moon Gang, we've been through so much shit this year. We've been through the market crash at the beginning of the year when we thought bull was going to keep going. We went through raging protests and riots. We went through the start of a war. We went through gas prices being insanely high. We went through Joe Biden falling down on his bike. We've seen it all this year. We're so jaded and strong. If you're still involved in the cryptocurrency market from the beginning of this year until this point, you are going to make it. If you are a member of the Moon Gang and you have kept your sanity through this insane year, you have absolutely done the Lord's work in your life. And I think we're going to be okay, honestly.
Well, yeah. And what's the, insanity, right? Or what's the best way to kind of curb that insanity is essentially just to continue learning, right? So, during this period of time, right, continue to work hard, drum up, more cash to, basically dollar cost average down on good assets in crypto, right? We know if you bought Bitcoin at $60,000, it's not the best purchase in your lifetime. You have to wait time for it to come back. But if you did buy it with the intention of it was money that you're willing to lose, and you're probably, just going to wait, it's a long-term savings account. You're holding that money for 5 years. If you hold, $60,000 Bitcoin until, 5 years from when you bought it, you will be up, right? Like Bitcoin has done that. Like there's never been a history or period of time in Bitcoin's history, or Ethereum for that matter, if you bought a price kind of just willy-nilly at anywhere. There's never been a time where if you waited 5 years that you didn't have profit in USD terms. So, it's more of a patience game. And then, using that time that you're being patient to continue to study and learn and add more knowledge so that you can basically buy better prices over time. And you lower your cost average down when the prices do get extremely low, like we're getting. And that's a strategy right there. It's really not that complicated, right? But because people are so day to day instead of focusing on week to week or month to month or year to year, they don't have a long enough time horizon. It's the people who are impatient because they're not planning properly, or they want to break the piggy bank, take out the money, right? Because we told everybody at the beginning, right? Hey, buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum as a majority of your portfolio, hold on for it for several years, right? Speculate on other things, obviously, to try to, to move it faster, but really focus on, especially Ethereum. Like it's not that hard, but most people, when prices are down, the test of their knowledge really becomes strong, because they think they studied enough, but maybe they didn't have enough, as much conviction in, like, I know there's a lot of people back in 2019 that were saying, well, I don't really think, or I highly doubt that Bitcoin will ever go above $19,000 ever again, right? Mm-hmm. And because they said that it would never get above 19K again, or 20K, right? 19,666, because they thought that, right? For me, everybody thought I was insane in 2019, right?
Including me.
Yeah, exactly, right? But look at you now. I'm
a believer, baby.
It's not believing, right? It's understanding, right? I keep saying this over and over and over again. I feel like a broken record sometimes. But yeah, it's just, if you don't believe it, then get out of the market and just watch the price go up, and everybody, take advantage of this opportunity without you. It's kind of like on CNBC, right? They say, well, Bitcoin's the worst hedge against inflation because it's been down so much this year. And it's like, well, yeah, but have you looked at the last 10 years of Bitcoin's history? Like, what if you bought Bitcoin at $30 or $100 or $200 or $300 or $3,000, right? At any point in its past, are you down or up against inflation right now? You're way up, right? If you held all that money in cash over that period of time, what happened? Your cash has been losing purchasing power at a steadily increasing rate as we have the highest inflation rate over the last 40 years. So which one should you buy and hold long term? It's pretty simple, right, when you look at it that way. But most people don't look at those long time periods because the media tries to get them, like Joe Biden was saying there, in that short-term attention span period, so that, separate you from your bags. What's the media, in the financial world best at? Separating you from your money, right? And so just listen to the people who are more long-term, but that's less people because it's less sexy and it's less clickable, and so it gets less ad revenue, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you this.
I can't take you seriously right now.
You got to take me seriously. You got to cultivate some crypto over here.
I'll try to take it seriously.
Tell me this, honestly speaking, there's some people out there that potentially believe that 2025 there's going to be no bull run. What do you think about that? Is it set in stone? What would you say?
Well, why even try to predict that far out, first and foremost, right? So, I mean, if you look at Bitcoin's 4-year cycles and you look at the halving, right, which is going to be in the summer of 2024.
August.
Right? Yep. Every halving that we have, which is the reduced supply of Bitcoin, right? We've had a few of them so far. And every single time, if you look at the year after the halving, not like the week after the halving or the month after the halving, if you look at the next calendar year after the halving, are we generally going into new highs or not? The answer is every single time we've gone to new all-time highs. So until that pattern breaks, we got to assume that it's most likely going to continue, right? It's pretty simple. It's more probable that it continues until we see evidence that to the contrary. So I would say yes, looking into 2025, it's most likely that we will be in a bull run where we're seeing new highs, but there's no guarantee of that, of course. And so, if you try to predict that far out, essentially it's kind of not worthless, but for
Whoa.
Bitcoin having such a short time period of history, right?
Mhm.
There's no point in arguing is 2025 going to be a bull run or not until we get there, really. So you just accumulate, when we know the prices are low compared to where they've been historically.
So Binance Academy had it at August, but this one has it at March 20th.
Yeah, it all depends on basically how fast the blocks are being mined. So the more competition there are from miners, the more early it will be. So there's no, it's like the merge, right? There was no definitive countdown to the merge because it all depended on how the miners mined the Ethereum blocks up to the merge. So the more competition there is, the faster it will come.
That's very true. That's interesting. I want to pull up the Binance one. Here's the Bitcoin bank. The hype they're having is a lot. They had a different date. I literally checked it like the other day. Huh. Well, the announcement's going to be here today at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And
what time is it now? It's like 11
looks
a.m.
like
there?
10:15 a.m.
Okay.
So
we got some time.
I mean, what are we? Okay, the markets are opening right now, right? The markets are technically they've been open for an hour. Are we watching? Is there anything kind of crashing right now?
No, the S&P when I showed it on the screen was up a little bit, but
it's fine. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
okay.
But it has to go up. I mean, there's like this is why the short term is so annoying, right? Because there's so many narratives out there of people being like, it's gonna crash on this day, on this hour, at this time, and it's gonna be over. And it's like, no, you look at bigger swings in the market, which in the case of Bitcoin is over 60-day cycles. And how do we find that data? Well, Bob Lucas, right, put that information out there. He's the first person in crypto to find that Bitcoin had 60-day cycles where we have the biggest swings on Bitcoin over that period of time. So why worry about what happens day to day when you basically map out those parameters and make a grid on the chart and say, if we go above here, okay, price will probably hold up and start going up. If we go below here, then price is probably going to go down like we just showed on the chart. So people want to get into the emotion of it, right? They want to get that dopamine hit of, ooh, we are going to see a crash, or ooh, we're going to see a pump, right? But instead of going into that emotion, just go into the logic. But it's a lot less entertaining, and so people, want to see the world burn or want to see their bags pump. That's all really people are looking for.
Yeah, and if you just want to give up on the crypto mindset at any point, I mean, this is great advice here by Pyramid Scheme. He says, just follow Nancy's husband's trade, guaranteed to make you money. If you know, you know. It's greatest stock trader of all time.
Oh, right. I was like, which Nancy?
Nancy Pelosi.
Yep. That's true. Even Bitcoin needs to stay hydrated.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Drink it up. Well, I got a little bit of a little video here I want to show everybody in regards to what we got going on here. Let me snap out of my Bitcoin transformation. There we go.
Oh, come on.
People are saying you need to be Ethereum.
Yeah, we could do a pair.
I just couldn't I swear on my life, I was checking this halving website the other day, and it said August. Could it have sped up that fast, or is that?
No, it's just their prediction, right? So they're trying to guess a certain rate of people mining Bitcoin, and so one site thinks that people will mine it faster, the other site thinks it'll mine it slower.
With the same site.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, they adjust. Yeah, they also adjust it based on the blocks that are currently being mined. So
the speed,
essentially, sorry.
The speed. So I guess people are mining a little bit more right now than when I was checking it.
Right. When there's more competition over a certain period of time, then Bitcoin's going to always try to get one block mined per 10 minutes. And so if there's a lot more miners trying to mine it, then it wants to create a block before the 10-minute mark. So it'll change the difficulty rate for mining. And so it'll make it more difficult for miners. So they have to compete more in order for, that rate to stay at that 10-minute mark. So, that's basically what's happening there. So, but it'll continue to fluctuate probably between spring of spring, which is like March or so of 2024 to the end of summer. It's going to be somewhere within there. It's probably like May, June, most likely. The last one happened in May of 2020, right?
That was 2016 was July 9th, 2016.
Right. So give or take a couple months, really. It's not, like I said, they can't even predict exactly when, Bitcoin's going to reduce the mining rewards on its blocks over, the next few years. So why try to predict where the market's going to be at that time? Instead, we just know that prices are down. And so we buy cheap. Bitcoin's under 20K, Ethereum's under $1,500, right? Or I think the key price for Ethereum is between like $1,000 to $1,350. That area is a very good area for long-term accumulation, but below 1,000 is good for the short term, right? And good for long-term as well, but it's great for short-term because we can bounce back pretty damn quickly. I think it is possible that we see Ethereum, even if it drops to like 8,600, we could see Ethereum pop back up to 2,000, 2,400 by the end of the year, right? Not saying that that's going to happen, but I'm saying it could. So the lower we go, it's kind of like taking a bobber and pushing it underwater. It's going to pop back up, right? Because everybody knows, wow, that's cheaper than what it should be.
Dude, if we get to Charlie, if we get down to $600 Ethereum, I would strip to make extra money, dude. I would strip. I would sell myself to dirty old Japanese ladies over here for the highest.
Oh, hell yeah.
For the highest dollar. You need $600. Do you know what that means? That's like a pretty much almost guaranteed 8x by 2025.
When was the last time we saw $600 Ethereum? I think that was
November 2020.
Yeah, end of 2020. Exactly. So
November 2020.
Yep. And so, yeah, it's been pretty much 2 years. So if you get the cheapest price that we've had there in 2 years, and people know that Ethereum will get to 10K and Bitcoin will get to 100K at some point in the future, then it's the easiest bet in the world. You just, like I said, it's the time horizon, it's the patience. And the thing that gets people in trouble is when they leverage themselves, they borrow money to buy crypto or even stocks as well, right? They go and they do unsustainable things, right? They sell, all of their properties to go all in on crypto. And is that a wise choice? Not necessarily, because you're going to be an emotional wreck. Is it a wise choice because over the long term, over 5 years, that will get you more money than just by holding the house? Well, yeah, it will. So it just depends on your risk tolerance and your willingness to understand where we're going long term. But yeah, you just have to, anything that you're putting in the market, you literally have to be willing to lose, right? Like, what's the worst case? Right? Dan Pena said it, Bitcoin going to zero, because we know that basically the Russians, it came out that Putin created Bitcoin, right? So once that information comes out, we know that Dan Pena said it's going to go to zero. So really, that's the worst case scenario. If we're looking at the worst case scenarios going into the end of the year.
Yep. This is right here. $600 is when the last time they had 600 was in, maybe like the beginning of December, like December 5th, it was like 590.
Yeah. It was around the second crypto mindset course. I remember it vividly.
Let's see. So it looks like right around here. I'm trying to get it precisely. It's like mid-December was the last time I touched it. But I mean, what an investment, right? I mean, look at this. I mean, get the log on, right? Look at that. I mean, what an investment. Earliest date they have on here is 70 cents on August 10th, 2015. And it may seem like a long time ago, 7 years, but it just seems like the other day. I don't even remember what I did in 2015. I was living in Osaka.
Yeah. Well, I remember in 2017 in May, I was buying Ethereum at $90. If you want to, I don't know if you want to find where that is on the chart, right around there. So, but around $90, probably towards the end of May, right around there. So I bought my first Ethereum there, and then it dipped down to like that $70, $80 mark for like a little bit. And then I was like, oh yeah, I expected it to dump, right? And then you came into the office a couple months later and you're like, hey, do you know about this Ethereum thing? I'm like, yeah, I think I have some of those. I didn't even know really what they were, right? And then we looked at the chart, and you said you were gonna go to a thing where Vitalik was given a speech just a couple blocks away from our office, and we're like, hell yeah, let's go. And then I checked the price of Ethereum. I'm like, holy shit, it's $400 now, right? That $1,000 I put in at $90 now is turned into $4,000. I was like, God damn, that's a good investment. I need to learn about this shit, right? And so when you get those those small wins, that's really what puts the fire under your ass to really study this stuff, because it is so aggressive to the upside, and it's aggressive to the downside too, but not nearly as bad, because it can literally only go down 99%, right? It can't go, but it can go up 1,000%.
Mm-hmm. What a ride we've been on, eh?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, once you understand these principles, and you don't let that emotion and the BS of the media narratives come into it, then when everybody's running around screaming like chickens with their heads cut off, like we're all fine. There's no problem. But it's the media and the rest of the world, right, that want to perpetuate the fear.
Well, I think this is going to do it for us today, guys. We just wanted to give you a little quick update on the Fed, what's going on. We're going to see some raises today, so 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Not much to report on. We're in a bear market. The news is kind of the news, but hey, just don't let it make you feel bad or get all bent out of shape, because it's just, the news has always been negative since the dawn of civilization. So
yeah, it should make you want to work harder, so that you can get more Bitcoin, Ethereum at these historically cheap prices. Because the last thing I'll say is, we essentially have had the price of Bitcoin under the 200-week moving average for the longest period in its history, right? And Ethereum, right? By both Ethereum follows Bitcoin. So basically, the prices that we have now, if you look at a lot of different risk metrics, they're essentially saying the other times that we were this low risk to buy cryptocurrency or to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum specifically, was back during the Corona crash, back during the 2018 lows, back during the 2015 lows, and back during the 2011 lows, right? So we see that the risk is extremely low right now. Like those periods of time, what is the similarity between those periods of time, right? Those are the local lows or the bottoms of the bear market, right? And so, yeah, we're at that period in time now. So we just buy and we hold and we wait. So pretty easy.
until then, we'll be back tomorrow, boys and girls watching us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I want to buy these juicy prices, man. Like I'm
Dude,
it's gonna be fun.
Every plan I'm making, Charlie, is for 2025.
Good. Well, that's perfect, because you're looking at the long term, right? You're looking at your savings account in crypto, right, as just that, a savings account which you're not going to spend. So cool.
Yep. Free money. Jemima, we'll see you later. We love you. All right, we check you out. Peace out, boys and girls.